the Sanatana Goswami, translation and commentary by Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu. And we're reading part 1 of bhagavatamrta, where Narad Muni is searching for the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. Should this be higher, or is it okay? Can you hear okay, or is this... Yeah, okay. And Narada praises a Brahmin as the greatest devotee of Krishna. The Brahmin says, no, there's a king in South India. He has all these great qualities. He's the one who's received Krishna's mercy. King says, not me, I'm just an ordinary earthly king. Indra, he's the one who has the real qualification of being the recipient of Krishna's mercy. And so Narada keeps going from devotee to devotee, each one denying that he's really received Krishna's mercy and pointing Narada to someone greater. So Indra, yeah, another chair. Indra has pointed Narada to Lord Brahma as the real recipient of Krishna's mercy. He said, your father, Lord Brahma, he's the one. So Narada goes to Brahmaloka, and there he hears at a distance the huge sound of many great sacrifices being performed unceasingly with great devotion by the sages on Brahmaloka. And among the sages he sees the Supreme Lord in his Mahapurusha form, who will be described shortly, looking very much satisfied, decorated with crowns of matted locks. The Lord in his 1,000-headed form, the personification of sacrifice, had appeared there with his consort just to accept the offerings and delight his worshippers. And to enliven Brahma, the Lord consumed all the items offered him, placing them into his 1,000 mouths with his 1,000 hands. And after awarding the performers of the sacrifices the benedictions they desired, Lord Mahapurusha went to his sleeping quarters. As the goddess Lakshmi massaged his feet, he entered his pastime of sleep. And Sanatana Goswami says that Mahapurusha basically has these two pastimes, accepting the remnants of sacrifice and taking rest. At the Lord's request, Brahma then instructed his sons to continue the sacrifices, while he went to his own royal court to deliberate on the management of the universe. As Brahma sat comfortably on his universal throne, absorbed in hearing and reciting the glories of his Lord, tears flowed from his 8 eyes. Surrounding him in attendance were the personified powers of universal rulership. And then Narada comes close by, offers respect to his father, Brahma, by falling to the ground like a stick, and begins to speak. And he says, it's you who have truly received the mercy of Lord Hari. You are the master of all masters of the living beings of the universe, the grandfather of all the worlds. You alone create, maintain, and devour the 14 worlds. You forever rule the universe, and you are known as the self-born. Present in person in your assembly are the Vedas, Puranas, and other scriptures, the revealers of truth, who were born from your 4 mouths. Yeah, we have more room here. Let's see. Yes, we do. Mataji, we have a space for you right next to Prabhupada. Just the chair needs to be placed there. Hare Krishna. There you are. Your world can be attained only by saintly persons who faultlessly perform their prescribed social duties, free from pride and other vices, for 100 lifetimes. That's the qualification for going to Brahmaloka. Within the universe, there's no higher world than yours. Even Lord Narayan's Vaikuntha planet is found inside your world. On Brahmaloka, Lord Narayan resides always in his manifest form as the lotus-naveled Mahapurusha. He eats his shares of sacrifice and grants the sacrificial results. Although in the distant past you made many attempts and were unable to find him, after performing austerities you finally saw him, just for a moment, in your heart. This is described in the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Lord Brahma found himself alone on the lotus at the beginning of the creation and was just thinking, who am I? What am I doing on this lotus? What is this lotus? Where did it come from? It must have come from down within the water that I see here. So he plunges into the water and dives deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. That's referenced here. Therefore, you are surely the dearmost devotee of Lord Krishna. Indeed, you are none other than Krishna himself, appearing in various bodies for your pastimes. Commentary. Brahma might object to being called Krishna himself. He might argue, the Lord is sitting right here in his Mahapurusha form with thousands of heads. Besides this form, he has countless others. But I am someone different, a finite living being with only 4 heads. Narada therefore says that among the Lord's infinite pastime appearances are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the material creation, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, each non-different from the original Supreme Person. So you're as good as Krishna himself. What can I say? Who could be greater than you? So Narada sings Brahma's glories, but merely by hearing what Narada said, Brahma grew disturbed. He anxiously covered his 8 ears and said over and over again, I'm just a servant. With some effort, the 4-headed Brahma checked the anger stirred within him by hearing what no one should hear, and rebuked his son, Narada. So Brahma is the Gunavatar in charge of passion. So passion can lead to anger. So With some difficulty, Brahma checks the anger, but still he rebukes Narada. I'm not the Supreme Lord Krishna. On what authority and by what logic do you say this? Haven't I constantly taught you about this since you were a little boy? His personal energy, Mahamaya, stands within his sight like a maidservant. It is she who deploys her material modes to create, maintain, and demolish this world. It's not me, it's Krishna's three modes of nature. All of us are subject to her and bewildered. So you should not think me the recipient of even a trace of Krishna's mercy. And the commentary says all of us are subject to her. Means Brahma, his sons, and their descendants. In other words, everyone born into material existence. You are also one of us bewildered souls, Brahma here implies. And so you are speaking erroneously like this. By the power of Krishna's Maya, I am always deluded by various conceits. I think myself the controller, grandfather, and spiritual master of the universe. Proud of my birth from Krishna's lotus navel, I think myself a great ascetic, his great worshipper. I'm overwhelmed by the countless duties of universal management. Worrying about the imminent destruction of my planet, I live in terror of the all-devouring end of time. All I want for myself is liberation. For this purpose of liberation, I engage others in worshiping the Lord and also worship Him myself. Since He's the Lord of the universe, is there any place where He does not reside? And Narada says, the Lord resides right here on your planet. He resides everywhere. He accepts the sacrificial offerings from me only to promote the Vedic teachings and show special favor to the sacrifices themselves, which are dear to Him because He is their original creator. So it's not me, He's just honoring the sacrifices. Just consider this, my dear professor of logic. He loves only devotion. He shows His mercy only to His devotees, never to non-devotees. So in the course of this narration, we're getting essential instructions, conclusions about devotional service. Forget about my having any devotion for Him. I would be happy if only it were true that I never offend Him. I cannot expect Him to tolerate my offenses, as He does Lord Shiva's. With benedictions obtained from me, the wicked Hiranyakashipu became the tormentor of all the worlds, dedicated to violence against Vaishnavas. After the Lord in His form as Nrsingadev destroyed Hiranyakashipu, I and my entourage stood fearful at a distance, trying to praise the Lord with skillful prayers. But He would not even honor us with a sidelong glance. Yet when Prahlad was inaugurated king, the Lord at once became pacified. Then I slowly approached Him, and He angrily ordered me, "You should not give such benedictions to demons." Nonetheless, I kept on giving benedictions to wicked demons like Ravana. Whose tongue can even mention the sins Ravana has done? Remember the offenses committed against the Lord by Indra and other demigods I appointed. The excessive pride of those demigods constantly perverts their discrimination. Indra sent rain to retaliate for the Govardhan sacrifice, sometimes fought against the Lord, and committed other offenses. The Lord of the Water, Varuna, offended the Lord by kidnapping Nanda Maharaj and by failing to return the cows belonging to Pana, and so on. Yamraj made mistakes like allowing the wrongful death of the son of the Lord's teacher, and Kuvera was responsible for the wicked misdeeds of Shankachuda and others. In the lower planetary systems, I have a great universe that I created. In the lower planetary systems live the Daityas, who always attack Lord Vishnu's devotees. And also living there are the serpent friends of Kaliya, who by nature are contaminated by anger. And recently, by my magic, I stole the calves and cows, the calves and young friends the Lord was watching after in Vrindavan. I took them all away while the boys were having lunch. I then saw some most amazing wonders and became frightened. Offering prayers and bowing down to the Lord, I thought, I'm so arrogant. But now in his pastime as a cowherd boy, he has tricked me. Simply by the spontaneous glance of favor upon me from his lotus face, I became joyful. I realized how fortunate I was to have visited the land of Braja, which is so dear to him. Fearing I would commit more offenses if I stayed there too long, I then went away. What else need I tell you about my ill fortune? So all my demigods commit offenses, the creatures I create commit offenses to the Lord, I commit offenses to the Lord, and I'm the greatest recipients of the Lord's mercy. In fact, in this universe, I see no object of Lord Vishnu's mercy equal to Mahadev, Lord Shiva. He is famous as the dear friend of the Lord. Lord Shiva is always intoxicated by the taste found at Sri Krishna's lotus feet. He therefore has no interest in any of the normal goals of life, even up to rulership of the universe and the sense enjoyment such rulership provides. As if ridiculing materialists like me, who are simply addicted to sense enjoyment, he goes around naked wearing garlands of dustura, arka, and bones, and smeared all over with ashes. Dustura is an intoxicating weed. His matted locks scattered about, he moves around aimlessly like a madman. Yet he's unable to conceal his glories. With joy, he carries on his head the Ganga, born from the water that washed Krishna's lotus feet. When he dances, he destroys the universe. Then in the commentary it says, in Lord Shiva's view, demigods like Brahma and Indra are addicted to sense enjoyment. Their celestial garlands, ornaments, and perfumes last only a short time, and so leave them dissatisfied. Better than the decorations of the demigods are his own garlands, made of bones and intoxicating weeds, which at least cause no disappointment when they decay. These strange ornaments, Lord Shiva thinks, are no less substantial than Indra's and Brahma's divine garlands. But these are only Lord Shiva's external decorations. His real ornament and his real enjoyment are found in the mercy of Sri Krishna. Humbly thinking himself bereft of that mercy, he feels fit to wear weeds and bones. With such ideas in mind, the great Lord Shiva conducts himself in his own peculiar way. By Krishna's grace, Lord Shiva and his wife are able to award liberation to candidates like me who eagerly want it. Lord Vishnu gives that facility to Lord Shiva and Parvati. Indeed, everyone who lives on Lord Shiva's planet is liberated. By his mercy, so many persons have become liberated souls and even pure devotees of Krishna. Prachetas, for example. To consider Lord Shiva different from Krishna is a serious spiritual deviation. The personality of Godhead tolerates offenses against himself, but not against Lord Shiva. And here the commentary quotes Shivasya Sri Vishnur Ya Iha Gunanamadi Sakalam Dhya Binnam Pashyet Sakalu Harinama Bhita Karaha. This is one of the 10 offenses in chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. To consider, usually we recite to consider the names of the demigods equal to or independent of Lord Vishnu. So here the emphasis is on independent of. Usually we think that to think the demigods are on the same level, that's the offense, which is true. But it's also an offense to think that these demigods are somehow independent of Vishnu. So Shiva, it's argued here, he's practically on the level of Vishnu. He's not some independent character. So, therefore he says, to consider Lord Shiva different from Krishna is a serious spiritual deviation. Any question about that? Are these windows open as wide as they can be? They should be, right? It's a lot of folks here today. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes as devotees, when we're preaching about the position of the demigods, we sort of emphasize the fact that they are subordinate.
Yes, we do.
We do. Could that tendency be likened to them being independent then? Are we subtly committing that offense?
We shouldn't commit an offense. We respect the demigods, and we recognize that Lord Shiva is practically in the position of Vishnu. Kshiram yata devika vishesha yoga sanjayate nahitata pratagastiheta. As milk and yogurt are not different, so Vishnu and Shiva are not different. Still, you can turn milk into yogurt, but you can't turn yogurt into milk. So Lord Shiva's position is like that, almost identical to Lord Vishnu. But still, Lord Vishnu is the personality of Godhead, and Lord Shiva is the plenary portion, the portion of Lord Vishnu. And we emphasize this distinction because Prabhupada emphasized this distinction. Because that's the side that people usually err on, to think that all the demigods are absolutely identical with Vishnu, so it doesn't matter who you worship. Ultimately, everything goes to the impersonal Brahma anyway. And that's their misunderstanding. And so we're speaking correctly by emphasizing this distinction. But at the same time, we recognize that Lord Shiva is almost on the same level as Lord Vishnu, and he's very dear to Lord Vishnu. Vaishnavana Mita Shambhu. Is that okay? Anything else here so far? Yes?
Maharaj, you mentioned about how Brahma travels into as darshan of Mahaprabhu. And it's described here that the Mahapurush is with thousands of 1,000 heads. But when we hear the Brahma Samhita, it sounds like he's talking of Shama Sundara Krishna. So which darshan of Krishna did Brahma receive?
Which darshan of Krishna did Brahma receive? Because here it says, seeing the Lord with 1,000 heads, and in Brahma Samhita, Yam Sham Sundara Chintu Guna Surupam. So here it's indicated that the 1,000-headed Lord is always present on Lord Brahma's planet, accepting sacrifices. What is Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasra Krishna Sahasrabha. But still, when Lord Brahma meditated in trance, he realized that he was the eternal servant of Shamsundar. So both things are there. Something else? Yes?
So Lord Shiva is almost on the level of Vishnu, but he is not Vishnu Tattva, right?
No, he's not Vishnu Tattva.
Yeah, neither Jiva Tattva.
And he's not Jiva Tattva, no.
He has his own. Is he in his own category?
Yeah, Lord Shiva's definitely in a class by himself. There's no one else who's like Lord Shiva. The Jivas are not on the same category. The demigods are not in the same category. Lord Vishnu is still higher. So Lord Shiva is in his own distinct category, almost identical with Vishnu. But Lord Shiva comes in touch with material nature. He's married to material nature. And Lord Vishnu never comes in touch with material nature. So that's how does milk become yogurt? It comes in touch with some sour substance, lemon or tamarind or something. So Lord Shiva comes in touch with material nature, and therefore he's not on the same level as Lord Vishnu. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. When Maya, the master of Tripura, grew intoxicated with pride by Lord Shiva's benediction and placed Lord Shiva in danger, and when Lord Shiva was troubled by other demons like Vrikasura, the Supreme Lord saved him and encouraged him with nectarian words. And sometimes, to broadcast Lord Shiva's glories, Lord Krishna takes the role of his subordinate and worships him with intimate devotion. So Vrikasura, you'll remember, is the demon who wanted the blessing that whoever head I touch will have his head fall off. So then his first act was to try to place Lord Shiva in difficulty. But Krishna saved him and glorified him. So Brahma says, when I created offenses, I got chewed out. But Lord Shiva gets encouraged and glorified by the Lord. So he's in the higher position. Although Krishna was personally present at the churning of nectar from the milk ocean, he and the rulers of the universe chose to worship Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Gauri. Lord Shiva collected and drank the terrible poison, which thereafter became his ornament. He was then ceremoniously bathed in the presence of everyone assembled and glorified with floods of praise. The Puranas sing of Lord Hari's compassion toward Lord Radha. You surely know all this and more, O thoughtful sage. To recall these glories, you need only exercise your memory. So now Brahma has pointed Narad toward Lord Shiva. So Narad bows down to his spiritual master, Lord Brahma, and Brahma sees that Shiva is now eager to set out for Kailash, Lord Shiva's abode. So Brahma says, Kuvera once earned the gratitude of Lord Shiva by devotedly worshipping him. From then on, within this universe, Lord Shiva has submitted to Kuvera's authority on Kuvera's Mount Kailash. Lord Shiva lives there as the guardian of Kuvera's side of the heavenly sphere. Accompanied by suitable attendants, he shows but a small fraction of his opulence. Just as the personality of Godhead, Krishna, brought under control by the devotion of servants like me, resides on my planet and in heaven and elsewhere, Lord Shiva lives in Kailash displaying suitable pastimes. Now let me tell you the opinion of the Vayu Purana. The abode of Sri Mahadev lies outside the seven coverings of the universe. Eternal, full of happiness, that abode is absolutely real. It can be attained by the best of Lord Shiva's servants. There, Lord Shiva, served by the most excellent regalia, reveals himself in his full splendor, surrounded by companions who share opulence and beauty equal to his. As his personal deity, he worships Lord Sankarshan, non-different from himself. What amazing wonders does Lord Shiva, in this manifestation, not display? You have the power to go there because you have pure devotion for him. Therefore, go, take shelter of him, and see the real mercy of Lord Krishna. So then Parikshit Maharaj, who's narrating this history to his mother, says, My dear mother, after Narad received these instructions, he departed for Shiva Loka with joyful anticipation, chanting, Shiva, Krishna. And there the chapter ends. Any other questions so far? Okay. So now the next chapter is called Beyond Material World. We were on earth with the king and then the southern king, the Brahmin and then the southern king. Then we went to heaven with the Indra and Lord Brahma. And now we're going to go beyond the material world. Arriving in Shiva Loka, from a distance, the sage Narada saw Lord Shiva, who had just finished his worship of Lord Sankarshan. Entranced in ecstatic love, Lord Shiva was dancing and loudly singing the glories of his Lord, while his associates played instrumental music and shouted, Jai, Jai. With great affection, he praised his assistants like Nandishara, as well as the goddess Uma, who was expertly clapping her hands. The sight of all this delighted Narada. Vibrating his veena and nodding his head to show respect, he called out several times, You are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And in a sweet voice, he recounted to Lord Shiva everything just told him by their father, Lord Brahma. Narad came closer, hoping to touch the dust of Lord Shiva's lotus feet. But as the sage came near, Lord Shiva, a flood of Krishna-conscious pleasure driving him wild, forcibly drew Narada closer and embraced him. Without hesitating, he asked Narada with respect, "Dear son of Brahma, what are you saying?" Absorbed in the taste of talking with that superlative Vaishnava, Narada, Lord Shiva then stopped his playful dancing and sat down. He sat on a straw mat in the Virasana posture, and a few of his gentle companions seated themselves around him. With devotion, Narada bowed down to Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Parvati, and chanted the 6-syllable Rudra mantra. Narada then recited prayers glorifying Lord Shiva as the supreme controller of the universe, and elaborately proclaimed the fullness of the mercy bestowed upon Shiva by Lord Krishna. Lord Rudra at once covered his ears and angrily replied, "I am not the Lord of the universe, nor an object of Krishna's mercy. I'm just a poor soul, always hankering for the favor of the servant of his servants." Upon hearing this, Narada was shocked. Thinking he had acted offensively, he at once stopped praising Lord Shiva's non-difference from Krishna and began to speak in a soft voice. "You certainly know the confidential, mysterious glories of Lord Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, and you expertly explain those glories. The best Vaishnavas therefore aspire for your mercy. Lord Krishna also has great regard for you and extensively spreads your glories. Has Krishna not worshipped you many times in his various incarnations and taken from you many boons? Hearing this, Lord Shiva could no longer maintain his gravity. Ashamed, he sprang to his feet, covered Narada's mouth with both hands, and said, "Don't even mention that arrogance of mine." I gave blessings to Lord Krishna. He then boldly told Narada with surprise in his voice, "Just see the most incomprehensible power of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. He's so sober. He's such a deep and varied ocean of great qualities. Even though I have committed many kinds of offenses against him, he still does not reject me." Seeing Lord Shiva completely absorbed in the transcendental taste of pure devotion for Krishna, Narada, pleased beyond limit, grasped Lord Shiva's feet, made him sit down again, and spoke to him to appease him. Narada said, "You're so dear to Lord Achyuta. Is it possible you could ever offend him? Though people sometimes see what they think are your offenses, he never sees them at all. Banasura was a cause of trouble for saintly persons. Too proud of the strength of his arms, he used magic to arrest Aniruddha and fight against Krishna, the wielder of the disc. When you saw that Bana, your devotee, whom you had maintained like a son, was on the verge of being killed, to save his life, you offered prayers to Lord Hari, and at once Lord Krishna put aside his anger. Now pleased, the Lord gave Bana a form like his own and raised him to being one of your associates, a position rarely obtained even by demigods. This Banasura received from Lord Shiva the blessing to have 1,000 arms. But then when he had 1,000 arms, he had no one to fight with because he was too powerful. So in frustration he used to smash mountains, and he complained to Lord Shiva that you've given me this blessing, but now I have no suitable opponent. So Lord Shiva said, don't worry, rascal. The day will come when you'll meet your match. So when Banasura kidnapped Krishna's son Aniruddha, grandson Aniruddha, then there was a big fight, and finally Krishna faced Banasura, and using his disc he started severing his arms. But by the intervention of Lord Shiva, the Lord was pleased, and he left Banasura with 4 arms. So he had a form almost as good as that of the personality of Godhead. Although Chitraketu and others like him foolishly dared criticize you, you never became angry at them, because they were surrendered devotees of plenary portions of Lord Hari. Once, just to please Lord Krishna, you expressed the desire to become even greater than he. But then you very cleverly modified your request, asking him instead to make you his devotee. This pastime is explained in the commentary. Let's see. Lord Shiva thought that Krishna would be displeased by a direct request that Lord Shiva become his servant. So, since Krishna is self-effacing by nature, he does not like exalted persons like Shiva to act subordinate to him. So, Lord Shiva instead submitted what seemed the opposite request. The opposite request, to become greater than Krishna. How is that? Krishna has declared his servant greater than himself. Madbhakta puja vyadika. More important than worshipping me is worshipping my devotee. Therefore, Lord Shiva cleverly asked for that greater position. Lord Shiva had also once overheard Krishna, while playing dice with his queen Rukmini, declare his devotee even more glorious than himself, in order to allure the dice into acting as his devotees by serving him nicely. Therefore, the Supreme Lord granted you and the goddess Durga the authority to give liberation, the liberation for which Brahma and many others pray. Just see, though you have power and opulence unobtainable by Brahma and the other demigods, you disregard your material happiness and live like a holy madman. Always fixed in a trance of devotion for Lord Vishnu, you appear totally insane. Who else but you would go dance naked with his wife and attendants? Today I have finally seen your amazing, uncontrollable eagerness to serve the Supreme Lord in pure devotion. No wonder Krishna always loves you the most. What more can I say? Krishna's love for you is never interrupted, and by your mercy, many others have become dear to him. By Mother Parvati's mercy also, many other persons have become dear to Lord Krishna. She knows in detail the true nature of both Lord Krishna and you. She's Krishna's own sister, who always receives his affection. That is why you care for her, even though fully satisfied in yourself. You give her pleasure by always holding wonderful festivals with singing of Lord Vishnu's names. and recitation of his glories. At those times she enjoys the company of Lord Vishnu's devotees. A hint for householders, how to keep your wife happy. According to the schedule, we have a few more minutes. Should we take a few questions and then see where we are? Any questions?
Reading the reaction of the different devotees, they're always professing how they haven't received the Lord's mercy. But it seems to be like a healthy attitude to understand that we do receive the mercy.
The devotees are always protesting that we haven't received Krishna's mercy, but it seems that the healthy attitude is to accept it. Yes, we are receiving Krishna's mercy. We'll find later in the discussion of Prahlad that he does accept a little bit, because Narada is his spiritual master, so he's better accept. But the devotees here are unhappy to hear that they're the greatest recipients of Krishna's mercy. No one loves, there's no one the Lord loves more than you. This is too much. All right, maybe little something, but imagine someone comes and said, Rukmini, there's no one who's a greater devotee of you than Krishna than you. You're doing such great university programs. Who could Krishna love more than you? You bring so many devotees to the moon.
Get the point.
Any other questions? Now, do we get another day tomorrow? We're finishing here.
Yeah, tomorrow's in another location.
I'm in another location tomorrow. Okay, so we're wrapping up Brihad bhagavatamrta today then. Well, you won't be surprised to hear that that Lord Shiva refuses all these glories and sends Narada on, and he'll go further and further till he goes to Vrindavan, till he finds the gopis. But at the end, Narada will say that actually all the devotees are the recipients of Krishna's mercy. That although there may be this conception of higher and lower, actually the devotees are all on the absolute platform, so we can't make this distinction. He's greater, he's lower. All the devotees in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jai Bhajai Shai Bhara, Abhakta Hinja. The non-devotees are all wretched and miserable, but all the devotees are great. So in that way, this first half of Brihad bhagavatamrta ends with that understanding that all the devotees are wonderful. And I guess if we're going to adhere to our... Oh, I have a question. Do we have copies of Brihad bhagavatamrta? Are they available still? They're hard to find now, right? We had a big push when we first got them to distribute all the copies, and it looks like they were successful, because now you'll have a hard time finding them. Although it is available as an ebook, I believe, and maybe by one way or another, if you're very determined, you can get a copy of Brihad bhagavatamrta. This is a wonderful book, and especially Gopi Pranananda Prabhu has rendered it so nicely. And it's a joy to read. It's enlightening, and at the same time full of pleasure. So a very relishable book. And we've only dipped in over the last couple days, just sampling a little bit from the first part of bhagavatamrta. But when you read it, you'll see that this is just an ocean of wonderful nectar. Sanatana Goswami is living under a tree in Vrindavan, and living such an austere life, but how he's relishing, how he's jolly and just bathing in this nectar of Krishna consciousness in such a way that he can write such a wonderful book, and we can appreciate it. All right. Yes, a question.
Maharaj, my question is, who is Narada Muni's spiritual master?
Who, what, which?
Who is Narada Muni's spiritual master?
I missed it twice.
Who is Narada Muni's spiritual master?
Who is Narada Muni's spiritual master? Brahma is his father, so his father is like his spiritual master.
So what is the instruction that Brahma gave to Narada?
What is the instruction? That you'll find especially in second canto, that Narada came to Brahma and said, "It seems to me you're the master of the universe. Everything's in your hand like a walnut that one keeps in his grip. You're the supreme person." And Brahma no. And instructs him about the personality of Godhead. Is that okay? So we trace our disciplic line from Brahma to Narada and on down. Is that okay? Okay. All right. Ding. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.